Hey everybody, it's Body Bags here. I got Kylie with their top 3-4 semifinalist deck profile.
Top 4,
yeah, cool. What'd you win today?
I won the Pyramid Turtle and the Zombie Master, which was the second prize that I wanted after the Spirit Reaper for first place, so I'll take it.
Nice.
And I haven't entered one of the FGG tournaments in about 10 months. The last one I did was last December's.
Oh my god.
And I have gotten 9th place 3 times.
Jeez.
So the fact that I took that long of a break, came back, and I just wanted to not go like X3. I was like, if I just get X2, I'll be happy. And then I got top 4, so I'll take that.
Nice. Cool. Well, what'd you play today?
I played Diva Hero, so I've actually been playing Hero Frog for the past year or so. Starting to get kind of tired of it. It's a really, really good deck, but I tend to like to play a lot more aggressively.
Yeah.
And honestly, like with how popular Hero Frog is getting, the side hate for it is just getting more and more crazy. And I honestly feel like the better Hero Frog gets, the harder it is to play the deck because of all the side deck hate against it.
True.
So Diva Hero is a deck that I played before Hero Frog. And I always really liked it. The only reason I switched off of it is just because my friend Jack, who's actually in the finals right now, beat me constantly with Hero Frog. So I was like, okay, I want to play this deck. But I'm happy to come back with this and do really well with it. It's probably my favorite deck in Edison.
Awesome. Cool. You want to walk us through it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
So for monsters, 3 Caius. Any less than 3 is, in my opinion, incorrect. It's so easy to facilitate this card. You have Treeborn Frog, you have Infernal Prodigy, you have Malicious, you have Brain Control. There's just so many ways to make Caius work, and it's just one of the best cards in the format. One Dad, he's dead. Dark Grepher, you want to have another warrior, and he gets Mally and Plague Spreader out of your hand, and then sends the other one to the graveyard. But you never want to use them more than once, so just the one is fine. 3 Diva, namesake of the deck. I feel like Diva Hero really fell off in the past year, and I think part of that is the rise of Oppression and DDV.
Mm-hmm.
But Diva is still just one of the most powerful normal summons in the format. It's so much momentum. You can either go into a synchro play, or you can. A lot of times today, I actually just sat on Diva and the Spine Gilman just to have a body, and if they didn't deal with both of them, then I just got Caius. So that was really good. 2 Mally. Stratos, 2 Prodigy, Gores, Plague, Sangan. This card's really good for just searching Diva or searching Plague. I think the only matchup I would have considered siding it out is Blackwing, just because it gets eaten alive by Shura, but I didn't run into any Blackwings today, which was great because that's probably the next worst matchup.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm surprised. I didn't see many Blackwings at all.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of value.
Yeah,
but...
I saw a lot of value, and there was so much Machina. I ran into that deck twice today.
Oh my god, yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of that and just a lot of Rogue, which was really nice. 1 Snowman Eater. I added this to the main last night. I was siding it. I wanted to fit one other card in my side, and I didn't want to stop playing any of the cards in my side. So I was like, okay, which one of these can I theoretically main? And I figured Snowman Eater is fine. It's a water for Miracle Fusion. It's 1900, so it helps a lot against Blackwing and Gladbeast, which is also a deck I didn't see today. Honestly, it's probably better to side. I'm going to probably make some changes with my side and put Snowman Eater back in. The card I was playing before it that I took out was Mystic Tomato, because Mystic Tomato searches Sangan and it searches Plague, which I took out just because it was probably the least good card in the deck. And another card I'm considering trying but didn't want to play today because I didn't test it was Enemy Controller, so I might try that also. Gilman for the Diva. Spirit Reaper. So I was between playing this or playing Welladad to go with the zombie theme for the tournament.
Yeah.
And then when I decided to play this, I was like, well, I still have to play Reaper because it's a zombie tournament. The more I play this card, the more I cannot believe that this is not a staple in Diva Hero anymore. This used to be in every list, and now I feel like I never see it in any list. This card is insane. Like, it's a defensive card that helps you get through Caius. If you're ahead, it pushes you further ahead by either forcing a back row or ripping a card out of your opponent's hand. Honestly, the only matchup where I actually think it's bad is Blackwing. And even again, like, it still blocks Shura and Sirocco. It dies to Borregale and Arnwing. So like I would side it out against most of like the top decks. So I'd side it out against Blackwing, I'd side it out against Frog. I would consider siding it out against Vayu if I needed the the space, but it's just so good game one that like I would never not play this card. Treeborn Frog. This card is just great to dump off of Future Fusion because you dump Mally, Treeborn Frog, and then if they deal with the Future Fusion, you now have a constantly recurring Treeborn Frog for your Caiuses, so that was really good throughout the whole tournament. That's all the monsters. Spells are pretty straightforward. The rest of the spells and traps are really straightforward. Allure, Braincon, Future Fusion. This card is insane. Gold Sark usually searches Future Fusion. There are some games where I don't do that, either if I already drew Future Fusion or if the things I would be dumping with Future Fusion are already in my hand. So sometimes I grab Diva, sometimes I grab Miracle Fusion, a couple times I grab Dad. So yeah, Gold Sark is super versatile, and it's really great because this deck very much, it's a bunch of moving parts, but when the parts are together, you just randomly go off and you just put so much pressure on your opponent. And Gold Sark just facilitates that. If you just play this, survive 2 turns, you're golden. I usually side it out going second in any matchup that's not a really slow one. So I keep it in against Hero Frog, and I keep it in against, I played against Gravekeeper twice today, and
Yeah.
I kept it in there because it's like that's a slow enough matchup. Like they're not gonna like kill me. 'Cause I
Yeah,
had Gold
they're gonna
Sark,
blow
but
you out.
Everywhere else I usually side it out. Heavy Minecon. This card is insane in this deck because you have so many tuners. 3 Miracle Fusion. I honestly think the reason I personally think Diva Hero is so much better than any of the other like combo-oriented synchro decks like Zombie, Willowdad, all that, I think is just because of Miracle Fusion. Like this card is just such a bomb when you draw it, and it's live.
really is.
Like there's so many games where it's just like I'd be so behind if I didn't just have Absolute Zero.
Yeah.
And like it just wins games. MST and Rhoda. And then there's 8 traps, and it's really basic. 2 Bottomless, Deck Dev, Mirror Force, Return, Solemn, Torrential, Dust Shoot. These cards are all broken. I don't need to talk about them. Deck Dev is actually really easy to activate in this deck because you have Diva into Catastor, you have Caius, you have Dad. Most of the level 8 synchros are dark, so I was actually able to resolve this a lot of the time that I drew it, and it usually won me the game. I think the only one that it didn't was when I resolved it against Vayu, and that's because it's just okay against Vayu.
Right.
Bottomless is just in the main because it helps against Blackwing and Glad Beast, and those are 2 of the harder matchups, and it's got enough generic use everywhere else, so it's just better to main it for this deck. That's the main. It's 40 cards. For extra deck, extra is also like really straightforward. I think there's only 1 flex spot in it. Absolute Zero. Chimera Tech, I do side Cyber Dragon. Colossal, Dark End, Red Dragon Archfiend, Stardust, Thought Ruler, Black Rose, Brio, Goyo, Catastor, Android, and Armory Arm. I think the only one of these that has never come up for me is Red Dragon Archfiend. It's theoretically here for Amaryllis, but nobody was playing Amaryllis except for I think Evan.
Yeah.
And it's also like theoretically you can use the 3000 stat line just to beat over stuff, but Colossal Fighter does that also.
Yeah, especially with all your warriors.
Yeah, I think everything else I summoned at least once. I don't know if I summoned Black Rose today, but I've definitely summoned it in the past. And you would never not play Black Rose. Red Dragon Archfiend I might cut just because it's so niche. Another card I was thinking of playing was a Sea Dragon Gashilnadon.
I think I saw you pick that up today.
Yeah,
right?
so a friend of mine plays Dragon Turbo.
Yeah.
And one time he was just sitting on Kawaki Mirror Drago, and the only play I had was Miracle Fusion because everything in my deck is light and dark. And even like Diva into Gilman is Catastor and Android are light and dark.
Light and dark. So you just kind of need an out.
Yeah, so Gashilodon just could beat that, and especially if like the Disaster Dragon deck, I think it also plays Drago. So if I'm just getting walled out by Drago, I think it'd be useful to that. There was also one situation today where I wanted a 3rd level 5. Just to get a 3rd Darkened Grave for Dad. I ended up drawing Prodigy, so I just made Armory Arm instead, but it would have been nice for that. Realistically, like this slot can be anything. Like
I think that's a really good idea, though.
Yeah. The other 14 come up, the 15th one is really just what do you think you need an answer to?
Right.
And then
there were like a lot of dragons today, so I think that's kind of like a good call.
Yeah, and then the side deck, this is probably what I think is Diva Hero's biggest strength, is that it can side so many crazy blowout cards that I think a lot of other decks can't. And that's that, along with the fact that I feel like every matchup is manageable, is part of why I like the deck so much. I never feel like I lost because of the matchup. Even Blackwing, which is, like, Blackwing and Glads I think are probably the 2 hardest matchups, and they're still not even, like, that unmanageable.
Yeah.
So yeah, Barbaros. This is gonna make more sense later.
Okay.
One of the things is that it's a beat stick, so it does help against Blackwing and Glad Beast. I never sided it in because I didn't play against either, and I didn't play against Hero Beat either, so I don't know if I'd keep it. Consecrated Light. This was for Blackwing. I didn't run into Blackwing, but I did side it in against Gravekeeper because it shuts off everything in that deck except for Commandant. And if they're summoning Commandant to beat Consecrated Light, it means they're not searching Necro Valley.
Right.
So I would definitely keep playing this. I just didn't see it today. 2 Cyber Dragon. I do still really like 2 because, again, it's a beater that helps against Blackwings and Glads. And it also feels Caius, and it makes the Machina matchup easier. Yeah, so usually when I side out Gold Stark Cyber Dragon is what goes in, and then when I go first, I just keep the Gold Starks in. 2 Crow, mostly for Vayu. I think a lot of people only play the 1. The reason I played the 2 is because Crow is one of the only surefire ways to stop a turn 1 DDV. Because if they just go Greffer, dump Sirocco, dump Vayu, and then, like, the only way you're stopping that is with Crow, and DDV is very brutal against this deck. I think the one time I got hit by DDV myself, I just lost instantly. So,
Yeah.
I would honestly probably play 3 Crow if I had the space in the side deck. So, Fossil Dyna and Vanities. The deck can play both. I don't really think one is better than the other. They're just kind of better in different situations, so I think both are just one of each is very nice. Lightning Vortex, this was for opposing Fossil Dynas and Vanities. It was also theoretically for Amaryllis or any plant decks. You can also break the dupe lock with it. Honestly, I think it probably should have just been Smashing Ground. There was a lot of matchups where Smashing Ground would have been good, but I didn't want to put in Vortex because of the discard. So, like, against Machina, I would have loved Smashing Ground, but I didn't put Lightning Vortex in, so I might switch this for Smashing Ground. Twister, this card was amazing. So this deck's biggest struggles are to just Oppression and Black Whirlwind.
Yeah.
And Twister just beats both of them. It's very fast. It's essentially a second MST. And yeah, I don't know. Every time I use Twister, it was great. I even sometimes, like, because I sat a lot of floodgates, and sometimes Twister just popping my own floodgate was crazy.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved the one of Twister. This card was so good. I would absolutely keep playing it. I even, like, it pops Iron Wall against the Machina deck, which I don't think I saw it for that, but again, it's just every floodgate this deck actually loses to, Twister just beats.
Yeah, for sure. Like we did a deck profile earlier with the Machinas. They put side deck 3 Iron Wall. It was crazy.
Mind Crush. This was mostly for Dragon, but it also works against Lightsworn and Fairies. I didn't see any of them, so I didn't play it, but I'd probably still keep playing it because it's one of the best cards against those decks. 1 Masker Restrict. So I like this more against Frog because it's just more of a blowout than pulling the rug. I feel like good Frog players just play around reactive traps like pulling the rug now because of Unifrog. So Masker Restrict actually just shutting them out is better in my opinion. It does conflict with Caius, but if I have Masker Restrict up, I can't use Caius and Frog can't use its entire deck. So I do like the one of. And then 2 Decree, this was also the MVP. Every matchup where I resolved this, I won. Because sometimes, like, the mass back row is just the hardest thing for this deck to get through. And Decree just shutting off everything and letting you go for a push is crazy. And then you can even just end on a Stardust, and Stardust Decree is just so hard to beat.
Yeah.
And then the last card was Skill Drain. This card was insane.
That's for the Barbaros, right?
Yeah, so it works with the Barbaros, and that's why I played Barbaros over something like Sirocco.
Yeah.
But Skill Drain was really just for its own. Just like any matchup that's, you know, like Hero Frog, Vayu, Glad Beast. I even put it in, I put it in against Vayu, and it was crazy because I can beat the Blackwing Synchros. It's the Raikou Kai's Hamster Gale that bothers me.
Yeah.
And this card just beats that. Like, Skill Drain was insane. I almost want to play a second one, but it does shut down some things in my deck, so I think just having the one is better. But you are able to play around it pretty well because you can still synchro into Stardust and Colossal. You can still activate Mali. So, like, a lot of your stuff doesn't activate on the field. So Skill Drain has been really good because of that.
Yeah, I think this tournament was, like, really good for Skill Drain. Like,
it was so
2
good.
or 3 other deck profiles where, like, had, like, 2 Skill Drain in the main, or, like, even I had success with it today. I played 2 as well, but, like, yeah, it just felt, like, strong every time I played it. And I was just like, what am I afraid of? I got a big body and I got skill drain. What am I?
Yeah,
what am I
the
doing
one
here?
matchup where I didn't love it was probably Machina, and that's just because Fortress pops it. So like you
Yeah.
shut off the Raiko Kaya's hamster part of the deck, but you still have to deal with the Fortress, and then it just outs this. So I
Right.
probably wouldn't keep it in against Machina, but against like everything else that's not Blackwing, it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the whole deck.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming out. You got any shout outs?
Yeah, shout outs to all of the Curio Cavern crew from Northern Virginia, both the GOAT and the Edison side. Safi, Jack, Trey, Brian, Khaled, Gary, Eric, Ryan, probably a bunch of other people I forgot. They're all awesome. They've been some of my closest friends for the past 2 years.
Awesome.
And I just love the amount of support that we all have for each other.
Cool.
And also shoutouts to a true hero. He's basically the grandfather of this deck, and I probably would not still have faith in it if it wasn't for him. So he's continuously innovating it, and like he is the reason I play this deck. There's so much you can do with Diva Hero. I feel like there's so
Yeah.
much to explore with this deck.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, bring it next time and we'll see how far you can take it.
Yeah.
That's awesme.
Right.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Peace.